What's going on, people? Pablo is back with a little tip for you guys on how I like to prepare my paint bottles. Meaning my little paint bottles. I get my little paint bottles here prepped up in advance for when I'm doing t-shirts or whatever, and then I label them all accordingly. Yeah, I'm a stickler like that. Be able to find it quickly. Now, I figured out a way where I can continuously always keep my paints strained, even if little nasty little boogies like this, I call them paint boogers. They just dried up paint. And believe it or not, this is what usually causes the clogs in the airbrush. You can get a very, 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 very tiny piece. I mean tiny. That tiny. That tiny will clog the airbrush. And you will not even know it. And usually it comes from the walls of the bottles. If you make a bottle or you mix your bottle, prep your bottle up and fill it up completely, right? And as you use it, it goes down. But then when you don't use it and the level is down and you do not refill it, the wall dries. The paint on the wall dries, okay? Then when you do go back to use it, you shake it up. And what you're doing now, the marbles that are inside are banging up against the dried paint, therefore breaking it down into little particles and mixing it in your current paint. And if you have nothing to strain it, or if you don't strain it before you put it in the airbrush, that's when the clog occurs, because those little particles are inside coming out into your airbrush. And then as you start to spray, you either going to have, if you have a 0.5 needle and nozzle, you'll get occasionally a little clog and it'll get a little spit out, and then you go, oh damn, I wasn't even trying to get that, and the job is ruined. Now, the way I've come up with, very simple for me, I've done different things. I've used nylon stockings, because I picked that up in a book somewhere, where I used to wrap a piece of nylon around top of the bottle here. Okay, and I used to take, back in the day, I used to use some nylon pantyhose, and I would wrap it over the top of this, over the top of the bottle, and then what I would do is just screw the bottle cap on top. Now that worked for a while, but then if you didn't have a cap, right, to keep it airtight, back in the day, it was my early stages, I didn't have these type of bottles. I had some generic type of bottles that I was gathering around, either from my family members, the female ones that use these type of bottles to color their hair, and I would mix my paint and do that, but they weren't transparent. So then over the course of time, I discovered that without a cap, the area that's been exposed to the paint as it sifts through would end up drying up and therefore clogging it, and you have to replace it. Now, I've been through so many different methods of trying to keep this a good way of straining it. Straining it beforehand. Yeah, okay, fine. I strain it beforehand, but the pigment's still going to settle. So, I noticed in the tip of these, right, it's hollow, right? So, I figured, what can I do? What can I do? So, what I've done was, I've taken some red Scotch-Brite padding, okay? Found out, it's porous enough because I can wet sand it. I used to wet sand with this, well, I still do, not used to. And it's very porous. So I'm like, wait a minute, this can be a possible strainer. So what I've done was, I've taken that and I've cut it down in little strips, okay? And then what I've taken with these little strips, I've therefore made a bunch of little ones, okay? About this small. And then what I do, I'll take this cap, and right in the cone area, you just shove one in there, okay? Get a little stick or something like that. You want to push it like midway, because you see the line right here? That's a good area that it shows that, let you know that, hey, it's all the way in there, and no little paint chunks whatsoever are going to get in there now. You see? So now anything that gets to this, any paint that would be, hold on, give me a sec. I'll show you with the yellow. Now you can see that when I go to squirt this paint out this bottle, any paint clumps that are inside here, they can float around and have a damn party all they want. They're not getting past security, okay? This is the border. You're not getting by without security. This is our security to the border. Once this cap goes off, it guarantees that this paint is going to be clean. Always. Always, always, always going to be clean. So far, I haven't got any clumps, no spatter shootouts. Give this a shot. Let me know what you think. And hey, it's always good to have your paint pre-mixed anyway. I use gravity feeder quite a bit, but still. You can apply this method to larger bottles, such as this. You cut a piece roughly about the diameter of the cap on the inside. You want to make sure it doesn't bind up to the threads. And then you just basically just screw it down in there. Oops. And you screw it down in there. And now this will be strained as well on a larger capacity. You see. So, Scotch-Brite. Red. I mean, any Scotch-Brite is rigid enough. And it stays moist. And it's easy to change out, as you can see. I made so many pieces here. And I mean, one pad. This is not even one pad. Roughly a third. About this size. So, there you have it. Another tip from Pablo. Thank you for coming to my channel, Paint with Pablo. And I will be getting back to you with more tips. Take it easy. I don't even know what the damn lens is. Ah, there you are. Yo, take it easy. All right, squirt around. Bye. And remember always, keep the air on.